A popular saying is, nothing i.e. ever lost on the internet, but what is something you have been searching for years and you haven't found it yet? A quote from a book, maybe Lundy Bancroft, about how to get a friend out of an abusive relationship. I want the original source. I believe it was in a Q&A format that ran a bit like this in ideas, but not phrasing. Question: my friend is in an abusive relationship, but she won't allow us to help her leave it. How do we safely get her out? A. You don't. You need to offer her the opposite of what her abuser is: choices. Allow her to socialize with whom she wishes, even her abuser, because he's probably isolating her. Forgive her for being flaky, because he may not be. Allow her to choose for herself even if you disagree with the choice, because that's the opposite of what he's doing. She has to decide to leave by herself. 2 web comics. The first was If Spam Came True. It was IIRC, a single panel with characters pronouncing what was happening to them that you usually only find in spam messages. The last character is looking down his pants and saying, "Hey." The second is a political one. A guy walks into a congressman's office with a big bag of cash and says he'll give the congressman the cash in exchange for a favorable vote on legislation the guy wants. The congressman is outraged and orders the guy to leave, come back in, and try again. This time, the guy says that he wants to donate the cash to the congressman's campaign and, completely unrelated, he'd like the congressman to vote a certain way. The congressman agrees, smiling. This old French website that hosted these pixel clip art versions of Disney characters. Because the outlines were single pixels wide and there was no compression, little me could save them and recolor or edit them in MS Paint easily. I basically made a whole drag and drop dress-up game in Paint using their Tinkerbell and Jasmine. Like, I don't have much use for it these days, but I look for it occasionally just for nostalgia purposes. Last time I used that site, I must have been like 12, it's been well over a decade. A Reddit comment about a person who didn't know they had schizophrenia until they moved. When they lived in their apartment they had a noisy neighbor, a radio that kept playing in another unit, and could hear their upstairs neighbor constantly walking across the floor, but then they moved to a stand-alone house and they could still hear all the noises from the apartment. I remember the phrase, insidious schizophrenia, in there somewhere. Very haunting and well written, but I haven't been able to find it again. Around 12 to 13 years ago, I got into StumbleUpon, which was a Firefox extension that adds a button to your screen that takes you to a random page that someone marked as interesting. Once, I found a flash animation that portrayed a recreation of a white hat hacker doing a penetration test on a web application. The whole thing was a Linux command shell without any GUI. It started with an IRC chat where someone asks the hacker to look into his application and sent him a URL and another URL for the source code. After a sped-up 3 minutes of curl, grep, and SSH, the hacker built a command line script that can pull any username and email from the site. Never found it again. Thanks /you/Zalmiak for finding the video. It's called 0 Day, https://www. YouTube. com/watch, v = QB8-0ZGIE7A, by Millworm. A short comedy sketch where a guy dies after calling in sick to work. Con Air was on the TV when detectives found the body, so they assumed he was a massive Nicolas Cage fan, and the dead guy has to watch all his friends judge his love of Nicolas Cage from the afterlife. Then his guardian angel appears in the form God thinks he'd love most, Nicolas Cage from Con Air. I used to watch it all the time years ago and now can't find it anywhere. Edit Solvedish. Thanks to the folks below, it's a college humor sketch called The Second Most Embarrassing Way to Die. Unfortunately, all sites that hosted it only have dead links so far. Still digging for it. Edit 2 solved. /u/armcharles found it. Starts around 4:30, https://vimeo. There was a song that played on the radio in 2004, alternative rock station, 105.7 The Point in Street. Lewis. The song was either called Unchained or the band was called Unchained. I heard it maybe a couple times. I've never, ever been able to find the song again. Any band called Unchained has never put out the song, nor has any song called Unchained been the right one. It's frustrating. If I do hear it again, now 15 years later, I am not 100% sure I will recognize it. /u/gingersgirl found it, https://www. YouTube.com/watch, v=cjp3w3wlb9y, https://www. YouTube. This one is a personal grudge now because they won't email me back. The website https://www. Aviva. Ca/up until maybe 2014 or so had a smooth jazz with sax song playing in the background. I absolutely loved it, and would frequently go to that website and just listen to it when I was feeling down, and maybe just look at cute cats too. They remodeled their website years ago and the song went away. I've emailed them multiple times, to multiple addresses on the site, with no luck. I've even spent time skimming through smooth jazz YouTube compilations looking for the song. I miss it. Around 20 years ago, I found a very interesting website describing, in detail and with lots of sources and examples, how humanity and civilization would benefit from a complete overhaul and remake of the 24-hour day and 7-day week. That we should extend the 24-hour clock to something else, so that a week would be comprised of 5 days instead of 7. I can't remember the details now, but it was a very interesting read, and sounded very reasonable, but of course practically not doable. I've tried to find that site many times, but it seems lost in time. There is a song that I hum from time to time that bothers me to no end that I can't find it anywhere. It is a very specific melody that sounds awfully familiar to anyone who listens to it, but no one I ever showed it has any idea where it is from, and I can't seem to find it anywhere on the internet. I'm starting to think I have to become a musician and be worldwide famous so that I can produce this melody and be sued by the original authors so that I can finally find release from this curse. I have this melody in my head for at least 17 years. And #X200B. Edit. It is the mouthing humming from Fall Out Boy's Centuries Music, https://www. YouTube.